The Tesla Model S and the Tesla Model X had a 12-year run in Europe. It is no longer available on any of the European websites where you would order a Model S and X usually. They just have the inventory cars available. This means that the Tesla Model S and the Model X is no longer for sale in Europe. Isn't that absolutely insane to think about? In June this year, Tesla announced that they would refresh the Model S and X. They had a few cosmetic updates, they had some interior lighting and a few other things that they updated the car with, but nothing major. No 800-volt architecture, no steer-by-wire and no technology from the Cybertruck, no real new technology. It's still the same good old Model S and X. At the exact same time, I think maybe a week later, Tesla stopped selling the Model S and X in Norway, the first market in Europe where they introduced the Model S and X, or the Model S first, 12 years ago. Absolutely insane to think about that it's been 12 years. So, let's turn the clock back and talk a little bit about the history of the Model S and X in Europe and talk a little bit about why Tesla might be doing this and what their plan is moving forward. So again, the Tesla Model S was introduced in Norway in 2012, 2013, I think, early 2013. I think it actually was released in Norway in the winter with a rear-wheel drive version, if I'm not mistaken. And the Model S never was a Norway car, it never was a European car, it's a large sedan. It's not a car that would appeal to the market in Europe, to be honest. In Europe, people would buy small hatchbacks, like the Volkswagen Golf was the most sold car at that time. And of course, the Nissan Leaf had entered the market and started growing for like the electric bit, but didn't really sell that well. So at the beginning, there was no real competition. In 2016, I think, 2015, 2016, that's when the Model X came to Europe. And the Model X could tow. It was the first real electric car that could tow. And Norwegians and also Europeans in general, they love to have their little trailer with stuff and towing stuff around. And when they found out they could tow electric, that's absolutely insane. So the Model X sold really, really well in Norway from the beginning. Really expensive as well, but still less expensive than luxury cars. In the rest of Europe, the price was higher and it was less competitive. It had the super fast 120 kilowatts, later 150 kilowatts charging, and that always changed throughout the years. But in the later years, it kind of started to fall behind. In 2019, we got the Model 3 in Europe. And the Model 3 had 250 kilowatt charging, way more than the Model S and X. So it started to kind of fall off because people just wanted a cheaper electric car with kind of the same range or similar range to the Model S. They didn't really care about the luxury features and the air suspension that, you know, people would rather have the cheaper long-range electric cars. Then a few years later, now we are seeing SUVs with great range, great charging speeds at much lower cost than the Model S and X. And the technology really lags behind in those cars. Of course, it has 250 kilowatt charging now, which is way more than the maximum earlier on, but it's kind of still not good enough. Of course, the charging got better and better throughout the years, and it got improvements throughout the years. It got the Raven update, which is an amazing update to the Tesla Model S and X. And later it got 250 kilowatt charging. And in 2022, I think, in Norway and Europe, it got the 250 kilowatt charging and finally the CCS2 port. Up until this point, they used the Type 2 DC port or the mid DC port that Tesla used earlier. So in 2022, we finally got the right charge port in the car. Unfortunately, this was way too late. And the technology already fell behind for the price, of course. It's still a great, efficient, fast-moving car. It's still a great offering, I would say. But there are so many other competing cars at lower price points. And that's what Europeans want. They want the cheaper cars. We see that now. We see that as soon as a new cheap electric car comes out, that's what people buy in volume. So it's a natural progression that less people buy the expensive luxury electric cars. 100,000 euros and more for the Model S was the new price lately, but it changed all the time, so it's very, very difficult to gauge the price, but around 100,000 euros or more for the Model S and X, of course. We have also seen that the demand for the Model S and X has decreased in the US. People would rather choose other, more affordable options. The Model 3 and Y can offer many of the same cool, awesome, amazing features of the Model S and X. They are a little bit smaller, but they still have the same app access. They got ventilated seats now. They got amazing sound systems and so many things that make them... It's difficult to pay up for the Model S and X. Those are really expensive cars that they don't necessarily offer a ton more. The battery cells for the Model S and X are produced in Japan still. The only battery cells that Tesla use that are produced in Japan. And there are uncertainties for tolls and also exporting cars from the US to Europe. Does it make sense? They have domestic production for the Model Y in Germany that makes awesome, fantastic, great built Model Ys. They also have the China factory in Shanghai that they can use to export to Europe. So it makes sense that Tesla wouldn't want to focus on the products that come from the US. It's more expensive to get stuff from the US to Europe than China to Europe, usually. Not in all cases, but usually it is like that. Now I want to talk a little bit about my take on the Model S and X. I think the Model S looks amazing, and I think many people in Norway and Europe agree with me. It looks great. It's a great looking sedan. In my opinion, it might be one of the best looking sedans ever made. And having like 800 liters of cargo capacity in a beautiful sedan, you don't need your SUV. You can have a sedan, and you have air suspension. You can lift it up. You can go. It can go everywhere. It can do everything. I love the Model S, and I'm very sad to see that it stops. That we can't see it in Europe anymore. And also the older Model S's, which have depreciated, might actually plateau now if the car won't be available in Europe anymore. Of course, that will take a long time, and expensive cars do appreciate regardless. Also, something to note is that it's super long range. It's rated at more range than many other cars in its segment. And of course longer range than many other or most other electric SUVs. So it's a great offering from that standpoint as well. I still think the Model S is a great car. It has been plagued with issues. The Model S and X are complex cars. They have so many more parts than the Model Y and the Model 3. The Model Y and 3 it's so simple. There are no parts. But the Model S and X is completely different. And there have been some controversies and some issues throughout the years. And I can understand that they are much more expensive to build than a 3 and Y. And I understand that Tesla wants to do this. The thing is that Tesla kind of fell behind without even trying, it seems. And that's kind of scary for Tesla, because the same thing can happen to the 3 and Y if they don't update stuff. The 3 and Y have aging battery technology, that's the truth. They really need to update the battery and charging performance of those cars, or they will fall behind, the demand will decline, and people won't buy the 3 and Y, and the 3 and Y will also be discontinued, and we have no more Tesla. So they need to stay on top of charging performance, they need to keep everything updated. So anyways, that was the news from Europe. The Model S and X are discontinued. I presented my take, and I still think it's a great car with aging technology. It should have been 800 volt, it should have had steer-by-wire or something cool that could make it really, really competitive, at least at the high performance standpoint. Tesla doesn't have the performance car they need to tackle the Taycan, the SU7 on the Nürburgring. They need to get their stuff together to get their performance car there. And of course everyone is waiting for the Roadster, but the Roadster isn't here now. The Taycan Turbo GT and the Xiaomi SU7 is here today. So it's time for Tesla to step up their game and create a new flagship, I think. I think they need a new flagship with completely revamped technology, and it's probably time to scrap the Model S and X platform.